Good morning. Hi everybody. Welcome back to the Shawl Knitter Unplugged. My name is Sita and I am in South Africa on this Sunday. What day is it? I think it could be the 13th or 14th of November. I'm not very good with dates. But it is the beginning of our summer, and yep, today we have a sunny day, a bit of a windy day, but nevertheless, summer is coming and I'm looking forward to it. I live by the ocean, by the Indian Ocean, which is a lovely warm ocean. So I do get to do some swimming, which is very, very nice. I just wanted to say that if you're here for the first time, you are watching the Shawl Knitter Unplugged, which I'm sure you know because that's why you're watching it, because you saw that's what it said. But just to remind you that you could subscribe to my channel if you like what I have to share with you, and you can also give me a like. You can follow me on Instagram if you'd like to. My name there is Tribal Bling. I share all my knitwear and other aspects of my life. On my Instagram page, I am primarily a textile designer and a knitter and a yarn dyer and a yarn spinner, and just a fiberista is a kind of word. I don't know if it's a real word, but I'm a fiberista and I love fiber. So if you love fiber and you love color, you've come to the right place, because I'm also a colorista. I really love color and I work a lot with color. You can see behind me there, that is like part of an outfit. It's actually a Stephen West shawl that I've knitted called Painting Stripes, and it's my lovely new pink summer hat that I recently purchased. So I also wanted to share with you that I have a Patreon page. If you'd like to go over and take a look, it is called Mystic India. I'll put a link to it below. And it's called Mystic India because I have spent many years living in India, and I'm about to go back to India in February 2023. And if you're interested in coming along on my journey, I would suggest that you go and join me on my Patreon account. I will be taking you everywhere with me, to all the exciting, colorful places, festivals, fabric shopping, and many other things that are just exotic and fascinating. The beautiful Himalayas. So I'm taking a tour. That's what I have been doing. I take 2 tours a year, one in February and one in October. It's a very small tour, the maximum of 8 people, and it lasts 2 weeks. So if you'd like to know more about India and my journey in India, which will include my fiber journey, that's a big part of what I do in India, go and join me on my Patreon. You know, for as little as $3 a month, you will be surprised at the wonderful surprises I have in store for you. And there are different tiers. You can choose to pay $3 a month or $5 a month or $10 a month. You go and have a look and you'll see what you get for your money. And I think you might be surprised. So that is all of that. Done and dusted and out of the way. So what do I want to share with you today? I have been doing some yarn dyeing lately. I've been diving into, besides knitting, I ordered a lot of yarn, and I'm starting to dye yarn to take with me to India. And I discovered a new yarn base, which I thought I'd just give a try, and I just fell in love with it. basically. So I dye fingering weight yarn, and the yarns that I have dyed is 100% superwash merino. There's also a merino linen blend, which has got a small amount, I think 17% of linen. And the new one that I've tried out is a merino mohair blend, which I'm very excited about. It's quite a high percentage of mohair, 44% mohair. That's quite high. So I decided to give it a try, and it's a singles. It's not a plied yarn, and it is soft and silky, and it dyes up like a dream. That's the main thing that really got me excited about it. I use a lot of mohair in my knitting, and I normally hold it together with a strand, normally a strand of lace weight, mohair, superwash merino, and I would hold the strand of mohair with it, as I have done throughout this little shawl that I'm wearing. And I do that quite a lot in my knits. Normally not throughout, but in parts of it. This one is actually throughout. I've held it with a lace weight. I wonder, there we go. And it's got this lovely little lacy holy border. So this I made about 4 years ago. And it's this gorgeous, it's a shawlette, I guess you would call it. It's a one skein shawl. And I've discovered that this is probably the knitted garment that I wear the most. It's very easy just to put around my neck and keep me warm, summer, winter, anytime, inside a coat or a jacket, or even over my head, keep my ears warm from the wind. And it is a design by Curious Handmade, also known as Helen Stewart. And this is called a Spindrift shawl. There's the pattern, the Spindrift shawl. It's very, very, very easy knit. It does have a lot of stocking stitch, so therefore there is purl in it. I still don't really know why people make such a fuss about doing purls. It's part of knitting, really. It's an essential part of knitting. And I just say, suck it up. I love stocking stitch. You know, a lot of the things I make, a lot of the shawls I make have a lot of garter, lots and lots of garter. And that's very easy. And, you know, you don't have to think about it. And you don't have to think about purling either, by the way. But I just love the texture, the flatness actually, and how the stocking stitch really shows up your yarn. So I'm wearing this particularly because I have made a sample out of this gorgeous merino mohair yarn that I have recently started dyeing. So here is a skein of this gorgeous colorway called Rock Pool. So I'm sure you can see the halo of the mohair. So it's got a lovely mohair softness, really beautiful. And, you know, it's very floppy and very drapey and gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous to knit with. I actually like to knit this on wooden needles because it really does, it's very slippery actually. So my metal chiagus, it's not really such a good idea. But bamboo needles and any other kind of wooden needles, even the wooden ones, the Knit Pros with the metal tips, those are fine. But complete metal needles, you're going to be losing stitches. So this is the first color that I dyed in this yarn, and I just fell in love with it. So I decided that I would knit a sample so that you could actually get an idea of what it looks like. So I've made exactly the same Spindrift shawl, Now, I weighed this one this morning, and this one it took 115 grams. This is the one, I'm sorry, there are a few threads still on. It's just been blocked. I haven't cut off the couple of threads. Here is my new merino linen sample. This one's got this lovely little picot border, which is actually what the pattern calls for. I just used the I-cord on the other one. And it's a very loose gauge. It's knitted on a 4mm needle, but it really works. It's light as a feather. It really is. It's so gorgeous. And it's, again, a delight to just, whichever way you like to wear it, just put it on and look how gorgeous that looks. I love the little picot border. And I would say that the lace holes are more defined because it's a very loose gauge. And this one weighs 90 grams. So I actually added on an extra row of the holes because I really wanted to use up, the whole skein. So I added on an extra row of the holes, and then I did the picot border, and then I still ended up with 10 grams of yarn. So it's extremely economical. I mean, it's really wonderful. And it also, if you like to add mohair to your work and you have to hold it double with another strand, you have to remember that that's twice the price you're paying for the lace weight or whatever you're holding together with it. This is all in one. And it's so gorgeous. I mean, it's really lovely. So, yeah, this is my Spindrift shawl, which weighs 90 grams. You can squash it up into a tiny little ball. This is a year-round garment accessory. You can use this in summer if there's a breeze. It feels like I'm wearing nothing around my neck, so I really enjoy that. So that's the first color I dyed. I've been very inspired by the ocean. I've only been living here at the ocean since March this year, waiting, or not really waiting, but in preparation for leaving South Africa to go back to India. I decided that I might as well spend the rest of my time in the most fabulous place that I can, according to myself. So I came down to this area which is called the Garden Route. And quite aptly so, it is absolutely a Garden of Eden. It consists of lots of indigenous forests and lots of lakes. And then there's this sort of dune cliff that runs parallel to the ocean. And then you go over that dune and then you're on the ocean. And the beaches are gorgeous. There's lots of rocky outcrops and rock pools and beautiful things to study in these rock pools at low tide. And the other day we saw a pod of dolphins, also seen whales down here. It is really a paradise. So I've been very inspired. So this was my rock pool inspiration with all the green seaweed and little bits of blue water and sandy patches in the rock pools. I then decided to go into something blue. And blue is not really my color. I kind of avoid it. I don't have an affinity with it. So I added it into the green. And actually for me that works. This is predominantly a green shawl. But I think the pops of blue in it are just perfect. Now, I don't know if anybody knows who doesn't live by the ocean what a blue bottle is. A blue bottle is not a very friendly organism that lives in the sea, and when the wind is blowing in a certain direction, they get washed up onto the beach, and they're fascinating. As a child, I was totally fascinating. So they form like this absolute bubble. Like when you blow bubbles, they form a bubble, and then the bottom of the bubble is intense blue, and then they have this long tail, which is a vicious sting. So if you encounter them in the ocean and that sting rubs across your arm or any part of your body, you are going to have a welt and you are going to cry because it stings. But they are fascinatingly beautiful. They're different shades of blue, and they also have like a deep purple. And so I haven't actually seen one lately, quite frankly, although we do get a lot of very large jellyfish. But I remember the colors of the blue bottle. So this was the next colorway I did. I'm sure it's blowing out. I can actually tell you it is blowing out because the light is very bright in the room here in front of the window. But this is, it's not as luminous as it appears. I don't really know how to make it look any darker. Very hard. I'm trying to give it some darkness. Maybe that helps. There we go. Yeah, a bit of a weird situation, but there we go. So that is my blue bottle, and I think it's kind of endeared me a bit to blue, although I'm sure I would never wear it. So yeah, it takes the dye very well, this wool mohair, which is quite surprising because when one dyes just 100% mohair, the colors are very much softer. It's like, you know, the fluff and the fuzz of the mohair doesn't really allow the dye to penetrate that well. But with the base of the merino, I mean, you can get really lovely, lovely, lovely deep purples, if you can see that in there. So that was my second dye. And then I decided to go for a bit of charcoal grey, which is not one of my colors either. But, you know, I'm basically dyeing up this wool to sell. So it doesn't really matter if it's my color or not, but I tend to fall in love with all the colors that I dye. And this is no exception. I don't know how this is going to show. It might look purple, but this is what I call storm clouds. And it's a lovely variegated, you can see it's quite light in places, lovely variegated charcoal gray, and again works so well on this mohair. So I then went and ordered a whole lot more of this lovely wool because I know that this is going to be a hit. I love it. I love to work with it. It's all-weather yarn, and I'm having great fun, and I'm waiting for more dyes to come so that I can just dye up every color of the rainbow, which is going to be great fun. So that is what I wanted to share with you today, my lovely new merino mohair blend, which I'm dyeing up. I'm going to be taking a suitcase full of these over to India with me, and hopefully coming back with a suitcase full of gorgeous, gorgeous airy silk. So I want to read to you what airy silk is. I have to get my phone, so I'm just going to pause this. So what I'm going to share with you now actually comes from Sun Ray Creations. That is their name on Instagram, and they dye up this beautiful natural silk. It's not a shiny, slippery silk. It's what we used to know, you know, I think it was in the 80s and the 90s, or yeah, it became popular, this what was called raw silk, which is quite rough. And in fact, this garment that I'm wearing right now is raw silk. Can you see it has texture? I'm wearing it against the skin, so it feels totally comfortable. I've had this for 12 or 13 years. It's just beautiful. I bought this fabric in Nepal and had it made up. So this is what I'd like to tell you about airy silk or Ahimsa silk. Ahimsa is a Hindi word, which I'll just read it to you. Ahimsa silk is one of my favorite yarns, also known as airy silk or peace silk. It is extracted from the cocoon after the moth has flown away. In truth, it is a wild silk. It is harvested from the forests of northeast India by locals who have used the silk drafted from these cocoons for clothing for generations. Now, I think this is exactly where this silk comes from. The silk has very short strands and is slightly sticky while working with it, but it is the most comfortable fabric I have worked with. Being thermal, it is cool in summer and warm in winter. Now, that is something that really excites me. So keep your eyes peeled and your ears open and take a look at my Instagram, and I will be sharing more and more about this beautiful silk yarn that I am dying to get my hands on and bring some back here to South Africa, where we don't really have very much or any, to my knowledge, silk yarns. This is a very different type of silk, very, very hard wearing, very long lasting. I wish I could actually show you a close up of the texture, which I think you can probably, there we go, you can see the texture of it. It's gorgeous. So that is everything I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me on the Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and happy knitting, happy crafting, and happy summer if you're in the Southern Hemisphere. And I know all the knitters are just dying for winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So take care and be well. Thank you for joining me.